workshop conducted by IEEE student branch. On this occasion, I request Dr. R. Satish to speak few words.
Thank you, Dr. Respected head of the department, Dr. Respected principal, Dr. G. Sowmithri Rao, sir, and today's resource person, Ms. Himaja Suman, and all the colleagues and participants. Warm welcome to this workshop. In fact, this workshop was initiated long back, 1 month back, by a lot of hard work has took place to bring the event to this stage. And this event, this workshop is limited to only 40 participants. And I congratulate all the IT student branch executive body, especially Mr. Vamsi, for his efforts for bringing this event to this stage. I request all the participants to utilize the opportunity, and I take this opportunity once again for thanking Himaja Madam for her support, wonderful support. Thank you, one and all. Over to Dakshin.
Now I request our beloved HOD, Dr. T. Venkateswara Rao, to speak few words.
Thank you, Dakshayani. Good morning, you all. And particularly today's resource person, Himaja Suman. I think she's online.
Good morning, sir.
Madam.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. I am really, very happy. Dr. Samir referred your name, and he give a very good feedback about your intention to share your knowledge to your juniors in that Raghu Institute of Technology and Raghu Engineering College. Thank you very much, Himaja. So this type of attitude is very appreciable, and this is very encouraging to other seniors also to share this type of knowledge to the students. Thank you very much, Himaja. Mr. Vamsi and I think Dakshani, these two students are in touch with you. I think they are up to mark as per your guidelines. And my dear participants, see, Himaja Madam, she is very much interested. Is very much interested to share her knowledge to the juniors. So she treated that even though she was working in US, she is giving her time, and she, has an intention to share the knowledge to the juniors. It is very appreciable. So please take some try to give utmost importance to the session and complete and learn something. And also the web designing and these are HTML programmings are very much useful for your own designing of own websites, and to learn how this website web designing is useful for our future security and all also. So therefore, I'm once again thankful to our volunteers and Dr. Satish, who is man behind this IEEE student chapter. And once again, I congratulate the IEEE members, the faculty who are involved in this workshop. Thank you. Thank you very much. Best of luck. Over to Dakshayani.
Thank you, sir. Let me introduce today's resource person, Ms. Himaja Suman, Senior UI Engineering, Cox Automotive Incorporated, Irvine, California. She worked as a software engineer in McGraw-Hill Education, software engineering intern in MSc Software, and as a software engineer in Innominds and Yantranet Incorporated. She completed her BE in Electronics and Communication from Andhra University and completed her master's degree in computer science at Fairleigh Dickinson University. She has a passion for UX and UI. Now I would like to hand over the session to Ms. Himaja Suman.
Hi, good morning, everybody. I'm Himaja. Thank you so much, HOD sir and Dr. Satish and Dr. Aini. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm really honored to be with you all. And yeah, welcome to the workshop. Let me share my screen first. Hope I'm audible to everyone. Vamsi, can you?
Yes, ma'am. It's audible, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Okay, perfect. Um, and how about my screen?
Yeah, ma'am. It's audible.
So yeah, welcome everyone. Super excited to be here. And as I said, I'm really happy to share my passion for coding. A bit about myself, Dakshini already introduced me. I'm a senior UI engineer at Cox Automotive. My primary responsibilities are to code the websites and also develop the junior resources, interviewing, mentoring them. So I really liked it. I really liked working with younger engineers and teaching them and seeing them grow. And I also got a lot of mentoring and help from a lot of other people. Um, I'm sorry to interrupt, but there is some noise coming from here. Maybe we should mute someone. Okay, cool. Yeah, it's gone now. So yeah, as I was saying, I got a lot of help from a lot of people during my career, during my college, and I really care about sharing it with you guys. Um, and coming to how being a electronics graduate, how I ended up into computer science and as a software engineer is pretty interesting. Um, I never wanted to be a software engineer. I had no experience in programming or no introduction except for a little C programming when I was in college. And all I wanted to do is just go to America and earn so much money and come back to India and join art college. You know, it's like any and every Indian college student's dream, like not to do engineering. So I'm from that category, and I was never a topper or anything, but I did okay with my grades and everything. But after my engineering, a little bit of story because it's much needed to set a pretext on how I find programming very interesting, right? Because I had like no interest in engineering itself and very little introduction to programming. But then I had to take up a job after my college. So only because I did good with my communication skills and my C programming, I got my first job, and my first boss, he really taught me things, and he mentored me, and there I developed passion and interest for programming. I know there is a lot of taboo around software engineering. People say, "Oh, software engineers are they work hard, they don't have life, or they are depressed." Well, I'm not that. I'm all into it. I love programming, and I feel like programming empowered me. So it gave me so much strength to share my knowledge, to work with really brilliant people, and to have fun, and to earn good money. So my first and last thing suggestion is don't believe people who say programming is not fun. No, it's not. It's programming is so much fun, and I'm going to show you all about that, right? So yeah, that's about it. And coming to our workshop, so why web development, right? Web development is going was there for a long time. Like every website you see runs on HTML, CSS, JavaScript that we are going to cover in this workshop. So every website you see on web and most of the mobile apps that you see run these technologies. So these are like really, how should I put it? These are like really good technologies that would help you fetch a really good job, right? And it's going to be there. So that is the reason I chose web development. And also I'm a UI engineer, so it made sense for me to share what I know the best, right? Let's start our workshop. So today's agenda is we are going to build a website that shows nearby restaurants, right? And I'm also going to cover, I'm so sorry. I thought, oops, okay. So yeah, I'm also going to go through how a website works in general, like how does the data transfer between the servers and your computer. And I'm also going to go through the web technologies and the programming languages that are used to build these beautiful websites that you use every day, right? And I'm also going to dive into technologies and programming languages and frameworks that we are going to use. There are HTML, CSS, JavaScript, React.js, Gatsby. So all these things, right? Don't get afraid or intimidated by all these things. One thing is, if I could do it, you could do it too. So just have an open mind. It's going to be fun. Yeah. If you don't understand anything, you can ping me. You can send a message on Slack. So Vamsi, I, and Lilly can take the questions. If you don't understand this at all, like you can always reach me out. So with that, and finally we'll be ending this session with a hands-on exercise. So let's start with how does a website work, right? Okay, so one thing is this is like pretty weird because I don't see you guys and I don't hear you, so it's going to be super awkward. What we can do is as we are going through this, ask me questions if you have any questions in between. Let's make it more of a interactive session rather than a lecture, right? Lectures are pretty boring, I know. So let's make it interactive. If you have questions, just post it on Slack. Hope you all are on the web development workshop Slack channel. So just post it. And with that, right? So let's start to look at how a website works. So I'm going to ask you guys a question, a rhetorical question, right? So I'm pretty sure you might all have used Facebook, Amazon, Swiggy, at least once in your life, right? You might have used some website, right? You might have opened a web browser like Chrome, Mozilla, Firefox, and you might have used some of these apps like Facebook or Amazon or Swiggy, right? Have you ever wondered how they work? I mean, like how you were able to buy things on Amazon and how you're able to connect to your friends on Facebook or order food on Swiggy and search and get information about pretty much anything on Google. Have you ever questioned how the data is being transferred between the servers on the cloud and your computers? So and also like where does all this data get stored, right? And how and why these websites look very different from one another. Like Amazon looks very different from Facebook, right? So there is a design involved, there is data involved. So there is so much involved in it. But one question you should ask is, how am I able to search something and get the information? Well, I'm going to reveal that secret to you. So what happens is, from your computer, from your web browser, when you search for facebook.com, it would go and it would first ask the DNS server. DNS server is nothing but a computer, right? computer, a CPU without a monitor, right? So it asks that DNS server, hey, what is the address of www.facebook.com? And then it returns a unique ID called IP address, right? Probably if you're electronic students, you might have learned about IP addresses and the DNS server and all these things in your networking or computer networking. Not sure, but it's not rocket science, right? It would just go and ask the computer, hey, do you have the address for www.facebook.com? Then it returns, well, this is the IP address. So your computer then would go and request index.html, right? It makes the request. It makes the request to www.facebook.com/index.html. And it will go and it will send that request to this address. Then that web server would return the response for that HTML page. So what is the response, right? That response is nothing but some blob of code, right? A blob of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And then it returns to your computer. And on your computer, what happens is your web browser will interpret that and it will show you that beautiful websites. So this is in a very layman's terms so that you understand it, right? With that understanding, let's get to our next step called client server architecture, right? So I've mentioned that you have your local computer, and on your local computer, you have your web browser running, right? And that web browser talks to the server somewhere in a warehouse, right? It's called data warehouses. It's called cloud. They have like different names for it. It's basically, as I said, it's basically just the computers, right? With that understanding, let me tell you what client server architecture is. So client in this case is basically your computer. In your computer, you're running browser, right? That is the client. So that client would request the server. Server is literally, the name came from what it does, right? It is serving content. The server is someone who is giving, right? So server is serving the content to the client. So client would ask server, hey server, give me facebook.com's homepage. And then server would go and search for the homepage in the local computer, in its database and all that, or like probably on its local CPU, right? Or the hard drive. And then it returns the response. You might ask, then what the heck is database, right? Like where is it? What exactly is it, right? So database is nothing but another computer, but only the storage, right? So server is basically, it does a lot of work. So it is more of a functional thing. And database is used to store data, like literally store data. It is nothing but a computer with a lot of hard drive, right? Like storage space. So what happens is for like basic, for your login, if you log in, right? What happens is when you log into facebook.com, you have username and password. So the client, what it does is it will request the Facebook server with the IP address. It will say, hey, this is the username and password. Get all the information of this username and password. And what happens near the server is, with that request, that server will look for the data, right? In the database, it will query the database. It will query the database and it will say, hey, this is the username and password. Match the data and send me the data. And then database would return that to the server. And server probably would format the data in right way and does all that things. And it returns the response. And one thing to remember is the security, right? As HOD sir mentioned, so the security. Why do you have like these many layers? And how secure is my data when it is transferred? server and database. They are usually hosted in the cloud. In the cloud. By cloud, it's not like really the cloud, right? It is like, in far away place. Like for example, in California, there are several data centers, right? Like Amazon data center, Google data center. So what exactly is it, right? So it is basically, it's a huge space. It's a huge acres of land. What these companies does is they build these data centers with a lot of computers. If you look at a data center, if you Google for a data center, you'll just see bunch of racks with smaller CPUs. So that's the data center. And in that big data center, those servers will serve each of the website content or stores database. So that's basically your cloud, right? It's anything that is not in house. It's anything that is not running in your computer, right? You can like uh, I'm being a reductionist here, but you can simply, in simple terms, you can think of it like that. But client here is basically your computer, right? And let's see what we have next. So what is exactly web development, right? Like the whole, like everything comes under web development. The code that is being returned from the server and being rendered in your browser is also it also falls under web development, right? So I'm going to briefly go over the technologies that are used in each of the layer. Okay. But these are very basic. There are so many other combinations. So just to give you an idea of what it is, right? I'm going to go through it. So for client, we use HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, right? And then for server, we use Java, Python, ASP.NET, Node. So what server, like how is server different from client, right? Basically, it runs on a different server. It doesn't run on your computer, and it fetches data from database, right? And the only way to access this server is through API. I'm going to get into API and how to build an API, or probably not how to build an API, just an overview of API in our later slides. Yeah, so for server, you can use any of these languages. And for database, usually people use MySQL, Postgres, MongoDB. You might also have heard Oracle or SQL. There are other technologies too. But yeah, basically, if you look at it, all this is just code, right? Just programming. The only difference is there are different languages. There are different programming languages. As long as you have the basic idea of how these things work, like how a website works, you can easily build one, right? With that, let's get into what HTML is, right? So HTML definition, like you don't have to memorize any of these things because you can just find it online too. HTML, let me open some website, then you can easily understand, right? Trust Vamsi. And excuse my lame jokes. I'm really bad at jokes, but I try. So if you look at this, right, this is a website. This is a website, and this is Facebook. And you have a header here. There's a lot of content here, right? You see text, you see images, you see videos, and all these kinds of stuff. So, like how in this, how do you know what is HTML, right? So I'm going to quickly show you how the code looks like. Okay. Let me inspect it. I'm gonna just drag it. Hopefully I'm not putting you guys to sleep. Okay. So let us, if you remember what I said when you open facebook.com in your web browser, it makes a call and then there would be a response, right? Just to prove my point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to refresh this page. Or, okay, let me refresh the page. See, did you see this? It made, say, I'm under network, right? So what I did is you can do it on any website, right? You can probably, if you're listening now, you can just try it as well. Like on any website, right click on it and click on inspect. It will open this, this window, right? In that window, click on network and then refresh that page. Click on select document. Here you'll see it made a request, right? It made a request and the type is document. Let's see what kind of request it made, okay? In the headers, it made a get request. So it's basically asking, hey, get me www.facebook.com, right? And then what is the response? Response is bunch of code. See all this code. So that's your response. So that's how it works, right? Let me show you another quick thing. I'm going to log out, right? And network. Okay. Hopefully, if I remember this right. Okay, let's see what kind of. So these are usually the API calls. It's basically talking to the server, right? I think here probably Facebook has some more. Maybe this is a bad example. Oh, no. This is a good example. See, it's a post. It's a post request. With if it should send a post request with my user ID and password. Yeah, it is posting the form data. See, this is all the data. Probably it is, my guess is it is encrypting the data, right? Because of course it is Facebook. So this is how the data has been encrypted. And then I get the response. I get the auth token. I get the authorization true, which is the right user. And this is the token I received. So this is to give you a basic example, right, of oh my God. Basic example website is transferred. But how right? So these things, these elements are called HTML elements, right? Like this text is an element, image is an element, text box is an element. Like this, see, you can type the text, right? This is an element. So all these are elements. Basically, you can think of HTML as if you think of web programming as building a house, HTML are like your bricks. So you put the bricks, right? And then you put cement, you put the bricks together, and then you have a structure. After you have a structure, you want to paint that house, right? You want to put some beautiful colors, you want to put some embellishments like fix some lights and everything, right? So once you have your house built and all the decorations are made, you're ready to move in. But one thing is missing. What is it? Okay, for this, I need answers. I need answers in the Slack. This has become a very monotonous session. So can you just use that house as it is? Like you have the house, you have paints and everything, you have bulbs, you have refrigerator, television, and everything. Can you just go and live in it? What else does a house need? Particularly like nowadays. Let's see.
Man,
Sorry. I might have to call you, or you might have to answer, or you should ask your friends to answer.
okay, man. Please go through the Slack, or you can also answer in the chat box if you.
Or you can just answer here too. I just need some indication that people are paying attention. I'm not like just going through stuff, right? Okay, so I'm gonna give one more clue. You have lights, right? You have lights and fans and everything. What does it need to run?
Power.
Exactly. Yeah, whoever it is, thank you so much, Grishma. You're awesome. Thank you. So
Yeah.
yeah, it needs electricity, right? Electricity, and electricity is the thing that powers all these appliances, right? So you cannot just go and live in a house with all these things with no electricity, right? In the same way, you cannot actually do anything with HTML elements on a web page without JavaScript. So JavaScript is the one that gives actions, like it gives all these functionality to this website. Okay, and then coming to JavaScript is a it started as a client-side programming language. By that I mean it used to run only on browsers, right? But as the advancements came through, what happened is now JavaScript has become ubiquitous. Because you're electronic students, you might know Arduino boards or what is it called, ARM controllers and all that. So nowadays, Node.js, it is basically JavaScript runtime, right? So you can write, if you install Node.js on your controllers, you can write JavaScript programs and run it. So JavaScript has become ubiquitous. It's not a browser language anymore. So the point is, if you learn just JavaScript, you're good. So yeah, I made my whole career on just JavaScript. That's my primary language. And yeah, as I had this here, it is used to add functionality to HTML elements, right? So on the right side, you can see the p tag, right? This is how HTML element looks like, and this is how you add files to the element. And yeah, here on click is equal to alert. So this is the function. And this is pretty boring. Let's write some programming, right? Okay, hope you installed Visual Studio. So please open Visual Studio and click on new file. I'm going to increase my, okay, and save it. Oops. Oh no, this is a disaster.
Madam, increase
Okay.
wording word set.
Yeah, I'm trying, but let me see. It's not increasing. Okay, let me do this. Okay, index.html. Save it somewhere, right? No matter where. Just save it as index.html. Oh, there's already something. Okay, never mind. Let me write the code and see if I could increase it. No, it's increasing. It is basically increasing WebEx. Sorry, guys.
Madam screen also, you can.
I'm sorry, what?
For the participants, they can increase the size of the screen also. They can choose.
Wow, where is my font size? Okay, let me do this. Give me a quick minute. I'm gonna increase it here.
Ma'am, control plus equal to ma'am. It will zoom your Visual Studio.
Control plus equal to?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, but when I was trying to increase here, it is messing up with my WebEx. Okay, thanks, Vamsi. Can you see now? Can you guys see now? Or should I increase a little further? This is perfect. How about now? Can you all see?
Yeah, ma'am. It's nice. Anyone have issue? You can go through the chat box or Slack.
Yeah. So yeah, open a new file, save it as index.html, right? And then save it, and then do this. Open tag HTML and close it, and put head to it. So HTML is like a person. That person has head and body, right? Okay, in that body, from our slides, let's see what we have in the slide. We have a p tag. P is a short form of paragraph, right? So let's do that. P. Like any other programming language, let's start with hello world, right? And now, how do you run this? Like you might all have a little bit of experience with C programming where you would need a C compiler and all that stuff, right? But with the cool thing about web development is all you need is a modern web browser. So you have your index.html here. What you would do is, let me find mine. So right click on it, open with Google. See, did you, can you all see? Okay, there you go. See, this is hello world. Right click on it and see, this is your p tag. You want to delete it, you can delete it too. But as I said, when it is running in the index.html, this is like the temporary state, right? It's not like your real file running it. It's just the copy of it, right? Yeah, can you all please do this? I'm going to give a quick minute. And if you have any questions, please let me know.
Guys, you can share your screenshots of the work and post it in the Slack. So it will
Yeah.
make the interaction.
Yeah, that's good. I'm gonna post mine. And guys, please don't feel shy. If you have any questions, the more interactive session it is, the more fun it would be. Otherwise, I would just go doze off, right? Because it's around like 9:30 in the night for me. Yeah. It is quite awkward too. It's just me talking. Okay. I will resume after at least one person says they're done. Cool. Vamsi, you're cheating. Well, it should be from someone else. It cannot be from Vamsi or Lily. I mean, I'm happy to see you guys work, but maybe Grishma. I don't know.
Guys, if you're unable to open the Slack, you can also post your screenshot in the chat box.
Yeah, that too. That works too.
It's impossible to share the screenshot.
Or just say you guys are done. I'll move on. Okay. So I heard Chandrika is pretty good. So maybe as long as Chandrika or Grishma says they are done, I'll move on.
Guys, you can unmute and say if the work is done.
Yeah. Okay. Um, okay. Okay, let me call on someone else. Let me see what Triveni is doing. Triveni or Chandrika. Or okay, Pravalika said she's done. Thank you so much. You're awesome. I'm gonna give her a heart and move on. Okay, so moving on, we now know how to like write a very basic HTML, add a paragraph tag. Now let's add some color to this. Okay, So this is pretty boring, right? This is black. So let's add some color. And let's go to the slides. What do we have here? So here, I said there's a style tag and there's this, right? Text color, there's a class and there is a reference to that element, and I'm adding that. I'm adding color to that reference, right? Let's do the same. But before going to that, I'm going to show you another quick way of adding styles to it. So there are 3 ways. One way is called inline styles, right? So what is inline styles? You can just say color is pink. Right? Of course, right? Probalica. There you go. This is one way, but when you write production type code, you cannot just do this, right? Like this is not really advisable. So what people would do is they use classes, classes and IDs or data elements. They're called basically identity. How you're basically giving it a name. You can say name, right? It can be anything. It can be, or it can be my name, right? And I would say, hello, Himaja. And then for this, what I would do is in head tag, I'll have a style tag, right? And then for ID, we do this. Hash, my name is color. Let's give it blue. Okay. Let's refresh the page. There you go. So this is another way. This is called style tags, right? Yet another way is to create a new file, save it as styles.css. You can give any name, but the extension should be CSS, okay? So I'm just storing it on my desktop, save it. And here in your head, I'm gonna copy this, like cut it and paste to your index. So how do you reference it? Using a link tag, link, right? href is equal to, give it a relative path. Styles.css and rel is equal to style sheet. Just give me a quick minute. I might actually have messed it up. Oriel style sheet. Okay. Looks like it. Looks like it is correct. So let's see. Let's go and refresh it. That's working, but just to make sure, let's change this color to green. Okay. Just to make sure it is working. So there you go. Right. So this is one way. These are like 3 ways of writing styles, like applying styles to your HTML elements. I'm going to show you one more small little thing and you can try it. Okay, I'm going to give a quick few minutes for you guys to try. And like just to get a taste of JavaScript, I'm going to add the same on-click event. I have here, right? So open your HTML page on your tag. So you, this is the element name, right? And these are called attributes. See, this is an attribute and this is an attribute. And usually it should have closing, and most of the elements will have closing, opening and closing tabs. And some elements like link, input, or image, they have like self-closing tags. When you see an element like this, it is called And this is how you write comment in HTML. Self-closing tag. The link is a self-closing tag, okay? And most of the HTML elements have opening and closing tags. Okay, so as you can see, HTML has an opening tag, closing tag, head, opening and closing. Body has opening and closing. P has opening and closing. So yeah, and there's an element. These are attributes, opening tag and closing tag. So these are the things that you have to remember. And we have seen how to add CSS. But what if I have, okay, what I did is I just copied it and pasted it. So you can say, hello, Vamsi, right? But ID should be unique, right? So what happens in this case? Let's see what happens in this case. It basically applies this CSS to both, right? There you go. As you can see, it applied the green color to both. But I don't want green color for both. I want Hello Vamsi to be yellow color or like brown color, right? So what I would do is Vamsi name. Here, Vamsi name, color, brown, okay? So there you go. It changed it. But the other thing is, now I have IDs, right? I want to, this looks very small to me. I want to increase the font size. I want to make the size bigger. So what I would do is I'll go here and I would say font size, extra large. There you go. It became super big. But what I want to do is I want to make both the names bigger. So to make both the names bigger, I have to copy and paste here too, right? Only then it would make it bigger. But again, when you work on real-time projects, you don't want to repeat yourself, right? You want to write minimal code. For that, what we have is classes, right? So here, one attribute is ID, and the other attribute is class, big font, right? I'm gonna paste that here as well. So what I would do is, for ID, you have to use hash. For classes, you will use dot, big font, big font. Font size is extra large. Now you can remove these two and refresh it. You'll have this, right? And not just that. Now I want to make the font size, font weight bolder, right? What I'll do is font weight bold. Let's see, right? And you can do pretty much anything with it, right? Probably, background color. You can add some cool background color. It has some cyan. Let me add cyan to it. There you go. So with the class, you can with the classes you can add the same styles to any number of elements. So yeah, go ahead and take a quick minute to do this, right? What we did is we basically added another element and we added styles to it. Create a separate file and add some styles to your components. I'm going to give 1 quick minute.
Guys, anyone have doubts, you can unmute yourself, or if you want to repeat again, she will repeat once. If you need, please unmute and ask the madam to want to repeat.
Yeah, please don't feel shy. Um, I'm counting on Vineet. I'm counting on Vineet to complete this quickly so that we can move on. Hopefully, Vineet is here. I don't see him.
He's not in chat box, ma'am.
Oh, he's not in. He's in the chat box.
Yeah.
Wait, how is this chat box? Oh, here. Oh my God, I'm missing so much here. Okay, Vineet. Okay, nice to see you, Vineet. I'm counting on you to complete this. Let me post the CSS here. You don't have to use Vamsi name. You can use
One thing, hash is not a comment like Python, it's a function type.
yes, it's not a comment. It's not a comment like Python. The way you add comments is slash asterisk and then close asterisk and slash, right? But here hash is used for IDs. So you cannot just do this, right? If you do this, it won't work. There you go, it won't work. So to specify that it is an ID, you have to add hash. So here, and while you're doing it, let me show you something really quick, right? So when you're actually working on components, what you could always do is right click on element inspect. And then here on the left side, you can see the elements. Under elements, on the left side, you can see the elements, right? And on the right side, if you can see, there are these tiles, right? See here, there's a color. You can always like play with it here. Like you can change it. As you can see, it will show these. And once you like the color or like any styles here, just copy it and paste it in your file, right? Oops. Okay. And then refresh it. that will be your styles. And what you could do is, if you look at it, you can set some height to it. Cool. Thanks, Vamsi. You can set some height to it. Height is 200 pixel. See, there you go. And width is 300 pixel. If only I could spell width correct. Okay, there you go. And then you can change your background color to this one. Right? And see, if I want to center it, right? So all this, again, like every little piece I'm showing you here, you can make a career out of it. There is a whole department for the designing and development, like just UI designing development, right? Like how to make your pages look really pretty. So you can just make career out of it, out of that too, if that is your passion. And to center this element, you can do margin, auto, you're centering the whole thing. Right? Then what you could do is just to center it, text align center. But you want to center it to the middle of it. Then what you could do is margin top, 20 pixel. Again, it's okay. Let's for now do this. Or what we can do is we can do this. See, there you go. You can do that too. And to center this, you can, what you can do is you can do display, let's, and justify content center, align item center. See, you can use these, right? And don't worry, like you don't have to memorize all these things. You'll get, I mean, as you do more of it, as you practice more of it, you'll just get it, right? So don't worry about that. Okay, there you go. So you can do these as well. I'm gonna post it in this Slack. Nice. Thanks, Vinny.
Vinith has completed.
Yeah, he has come. I just saw that. Cool. Thank you. So yeah, this is how you add CSS, right? Let's add little function to it. So all I want is when I click on this big block, I want it to say hello Himaja, and when I click on it, when I click on Vamsi block, I want it to say hello Vamsi, right? So let's do that. Not quite sure how familiar you guys are with functions, variables, and stuff. If you all are like, if you all know or like have a basic understanding of C programming, like it will be familiar, but if it didn't make any sense, that's okay. Don't stress over it. Okay, just follow along. So here, what I would say is like how to add JavaScript, right? Here in the body, I'm opening the script tag and closing tag, and I'm going to say var show name. This is my function name, okay? I'm going to do function, and I'm going to give it name, right? And then I would say alert name. So this is my function, right? Show name is my function, but alert is a function that is already existing, right? It is an existing function I'm just using. So here, how do I hook it up with the element, right? So here, it's pretty simple. On click, just call show name with my name. And then in the same way, with Vamsi. Let's see. Yep. Okay. That looks right to me. So let's refresh our page. Click on it. There you go. See, we added some function to it, right? It's pretty cool. Okay. But websites aren't that simple. And the other thing is not just that, like as we have 3 ways of adding styles, we have 2 ways of adding JavaScript. One is, this is called again inline JavaScript. The other one is create a file, save it as main.js, and just copy your function, paste it here. And in the head, add a script tag, and source is equal to main.js. Okay. Let's see if it works. Yep, it worked. So it is called external source. You're adding external CSS and you're adding external JavaScript. And usually, again, in production level code, or like if you want to build your own website, you always have to follow this pattern because this makes your life easier. If you have everything in your index.html, it gets pretty clumsy, right? So this is very basic. I'm going to move away from it. And what I'm going to do is, let me reduce its size, right? And then height is also 100. And here, let me add 2 input elements. Okay, let's add a little bit complexity. Let's add a little more HTML elements and a little bit complexity, okay? So input, and the type is, okay, before going to that, I want to show you one more resource, right? It is nothing but the documentation. So documentation is your best friend. For anything, if you have any questions, either ask Google, or I mean, you can always ask your mentors or your professors, or yeah, you have resources, but the best resource in my opinion is Google, right? And when you know documentation, when you know where to look, that's your best one. So for any web development related documentation, I mean HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, you go to MDN. MDN is Mozilla's development network. It's an open source web documentation. By open source, it means you don't have to pay anything to use the technologies or the documentation, right? So here, when you go to MDN, you can see HTML. Here, go to HTML elements, open it, and you can see all the elements that are available. See, look at all these elements. The only thing we used, the only few things we used is p tag. And what did we use? Did we use HTML, and we used head, we used body, we used script tag, right? So, but if you can see, like there are like all these, right? All these. So this is what makes that those websites that complex, right? So now I want to add input element. Let's see the documentation for input element. Click on documentation. So here, this is pretty cool. It will give you the usage, the example usage. You can just take this from here, right? Like copy it. and paste it here and change the name. Instead of ID, what we are going to build now is we are going to build put two input elements and take X and Y, like two numbers from these input elements, add the value and show it on the page. Okay, it's basically an addition. We are going to do the addition. So here, type text, name is let's say X, ID is X, name also is X. Required, we don't care. Minimum, maximum, yeah, we don't care about all these things. And close the tag, right? So copy it, paste it, create, name it Y. So you have X and you have Y, right? And the other one is, after you enter both the elements, I want a button. I want to put a button. Let's see if there is a button here. There's a button here. Again, copy it, copy, paste it here. Okay. And then let's say add. I don't care about all these things, right? And let's remove both the big blocks. We don't care about them anymore. Save it. Go to your index. See here, you have two big input fields, right? And an add button. So I'm gonna, but it doesn't work because we haven't hooked up anything, right? So let's do that. First, let's write the function. In our main.js, go to main.js and var add is equal to function or like addition. Function, pass the arguments X and Y, or like, let's not pass the arguments because we cannot pass the arguments, right? We have to get the values from those input elements. And I'm going to tell you how you can access data from HTML elements, right? It is called DOM API. And the full form of API is Application Programming Interface, right? So through that DOM stands for Document Object Model. It is nothing but this. This is called Document Object Model, right? And this represented in JavaScript. Let me show you how. So window, right? When I say window, come on. When I say window, so window is this whole thing, right? And this window dot h window.document. See, this is the whole document. So this is HTML, right? And this represented in JavaScript language is called basically DOM, right? So window, and window is like a global object. So you don't have to access document, you don't have to call window, right? When you say document, you can still access it. And to access this input element, what you should do is here window dot get, document dot get element by tag name. And what is the tag name? Input is the tag name, right? Ooh, that's not good. You have two elements. Oh, it's by name. Sorry, never mind. That's a bug. Elements by tag name. Should be tag name. There you go. See, now you see. There are two elements, right? Zero. This hopefully you guys can see. I'm so sorry. I do not even bother asking. Give me a sec. Here, you can see this function, when I call this function, right, it returned two elements, HTML collection. It is an array. Array is, I don't know, array is an array. Array is a data structure, right? It returned two elements, like 0 and 1, which is basically this, if you can see, this and this, right? So in order to get the value from it, what you should do is document dot get element by tag name input, and then get the first element. Okay, assign it to here. Okay, x dot value. See, you got the value, right? All you should do is just copy this guy, paste it, okay, and copy it again. The second input element is basically your y, right? Y. Here, you have the first element you have is x, and the second element is, okay, and then what you do is alert value result is, what is the result? X plus y. Parenthesis is important. Okay, or what you could always do this one. Result is equal to x plus y here, and then set it here. So call this function on click of this button, right? There you go. So 3 and 4. This should alert 7, right? But see, it would alert 34. Ooh, it's not, okay, it did not even do that because you're concatenating these two. Not good. You have to do dot value. You don't want to concatenate those elements. So let's say I'll say there and 4 or like 4. There you go, 34. This is not a desired result. You know why this happened? Because the type of the value is string. And for the string, plus means concatenation, right? And JavaScript is a dynamically typed programming language. It's not strict. It's not. Actually, okay. After this, we can take a quick break. I'm so sorry. I'm like going past the break time, but let me wrap it up pretty quick. Okay. After this, we can take like a 10 or 15-minute break. So yeah, JavaScript, as I said, is a dynamically typed language. It's not, you might have experienced with C programming where all the variables are typed. You would usually see int, oh, come on, int or var or string. You know, these are or like float, double, right? These are the things, these are the types you are familiar with. But with JavaScript, everything is just a var. It's just a variable, right? So for maybe, you know, I could say var x is equal to this, but in the very next line, I could just set it to a number. It's a dynamically typed language. There are like good and bad about it. There are good and bad about it. One, you know, slippery slope is like this, right? When you're trying to add integer values, it just returned you a concatenated string. So in that case, all you want to do is parse int. So this is called typecasting, right? You might, I don't know if you're familiar, if Any Java developers? You might have known it, or just ignore whatever I say. So this is, you're basically converting string to integer. Now, when you do this and 3 plus 4, add it, now you got 7. That's the desired result. There you go. So with that, we understood how to add like basic JavaScript functions, but this is very basic, as I said. And again, just to repeat what I said, you can always go to MDN. You not only find what is it, documentation for HTML, you have CSS and you have DOM. Like just now, I showed you how to access document object model, right? Like here, document, you'll see all the available functions, methods and members we call, right? You'll find all of these, like see, get element. See, all these are here. So you can pretty much use this, right? This is like your guide. Okay, with that, I'm going to conclude our session 1. And I'm posting this, give me a quick minute. I'm posting it in the Slack channel. So after the break, please add this functionality and just play with it. You don't just have to stick with addition. You can do subtraction, multiplication, whatever, right? But yeah, don't forget to do this. Yeah, with this, let's take a quick 15-minute break and let's come back here. I'll see you guys in 15 minutes. That is, I don't know what time that is. That would be, Vamsi. If you can post it, that would be great. Here it is like almost 10:10 for me, which would be like 10:25.
IST.
Yeah. So are we just hang in here or?
Madam, you can start the session now. Ma'am?
Hello.
Yeah, ma'am.
Hi. Okay. So let's get back to our session. You can still see my this one, right? My screen. Is everyone here, or should we wait minutes?
Guys, please respond.
We can-
Can we start the session? Yes or no?
Let's give them like 2 more minutes. What do you guys? Give everyone 2 more minutes, and we can get back. How's COVID there? Is it pretty bad, or is everyone getting back to work? What is the situation there? Someone can start talking. Okay. Looks like nobody wants to talk to me.
Ma'am, it's rapidly increasing, ma'am.
It is. Who is this? Is it Lilly?
Yes, ma'am. It's me, ma'am.
Is it increasing? Is it pretty bad?
Yes, ma'am. It's very bad, ma'am.
Everything is like opening up.
Yes, ma'am.
It's pretty bad. So, are you guys going back to college anytime soon, or
No,
is it
ma'am.
all?
College is after August.
Oh, that's pretty bad. Yeah, even our work from home has been extended to September. I mean, everything else has been opened up, but yeah.
Here also
Hopefully
in
we come out
software,
of it.
yeah,
Yeah.
software companies, they are just managing with some certain stuff or 50% stuff.
Right. Yeah. So are all your classes being online, or how are you guys?
Yes, ma'am.
Online
In
classes.
online, ma'am.
Is it WebEx?
Yeah. Repeat.
Is it through WebEx, or are you guys using anything else?
WebEx or Zoom, ma'am.
I see. Okay. That's cool. Yeah. That's pretty cool. Okay. Chandrika. Oh my god. Chandrika posted. That's pretty cool. Thank you, Chandrika. Now when people respond to me, it's like
Actually,
it's not like monotonous.
ma'am, actually, some of us are very slow typers. Some of our friends.
Oh,
That's the reason
me
we can't
too.
type. No, ma'am, it's not that.
Me too. It took me like literally in the first year of my job, I was like with my 2 fingers. Literally, it took me so long to get used to it. So don't worry, guys. It's like I started like that too.
Yes, ma'am.
It's pretty bad. So that's okay. But you can always raise your hand and speak up. Looks like my hand has always been raised. But okay, let me give 1 more minute. So it's you can start in 1 more minute. This looks like a lot of people, like 31.
Yeah.
Did people, I think people dropped off in between, right? That's okay. I can understand them.
Friends,
So
if you
is,
have any queries, you can unmute yourself. No problem.
yeah, if there are any questions, you can ask now. Okay, it's 10:30. Let's get to our session.
Yeah.
So yeah, I saw like people are posting stuff. That's pretty good. Thank you so much. So yeah, let's go back to where we are at. Give me a quick minute. I'm gonna pause it. Okay, so you can see the screen now, right? So we have we learned about HTML, CSS, basic functionality of um, of any common website, and we also learned we also went further and learned how to add basic input elements and access DOM through DOM API. And I also showed you guys how to look at the documentation and you know how to copy paste from documentation too, right? So the next one is we did this exercise already. We added input fields, we added a button, but we did not add a div. So that's the only missing link. Let's do that, right? Let's add the div. Div is nothing but a division of a web page, right? So it's basically a block in your website. You can create a simple block, right? Instead of any input elements or buttons or that kind of functional elements, you can create blocks too. Let me show you what I meant by that. So I'm going to call it ID is equal to results, right? And let me style it, right? Let me say, and for ID, we do that, and results. Let's add some width. Width is 300 pixels. You might ask, oh, how are you coming up with these numbers, right? I'm just adding some random numbers. Like there's like no logic to it. Give me a quick minute. I think my Telugu typer is coming up. So here you go. And then let's add some background color. Let's do dark gray. Okay. And let's see what it looks like. Okay. So here, there you go. But this is pretty ugly. I want space between these input elements and this div. What I'm going to do is, as I said, you can play with your CSS by right-clicking on it, click on inspect, and hover on div. See, you can see that, right? Here, add some margin. Margin top is, let's put some 20 pixels. See, that created nice gap, right? So let's copy this and paste it here. So you have result. But 2 and 3, it's not showing up. I want it to show up in this block, not here, okay? So let's change that. And I'm also going to show you another way of accessing DOM elements, right? So in your main.js, what I'm doing is get element by tag, input, and all this, right? So let me open the file parallel. In index, you have ID X and ID Y. So let's see. Here, instead of tag name, what I'm going to do is get element by ID. and the first ID is X and the second input ID is Y. Right, so let me do that, X. And that wouldn't return an array. It would just return straight up elements. So you could just use that. I'm going to do the same for here. Get element by ID. I'm going to say Y. Same logic here. And instead of alert, what I'm going to do is for results div is equal to document dot get element by ID result, right? And how do you set text to any HTML div is by doing this. Result div dot inner text is equal to result. Let's see what it does. 2 and 3. There you go. It added 5. See? So what I'll do is, that is pretty boring, right? So I'm going to add result. And let's see what happens. Okay, initially it shows this 3 and 4. It replaced it, but I don't want it to replace it, right? I want to append to it. What I'll do is, I'll just do that. I'll just add plus. I'll just add this operator, right? Let's see what happens now. There you go. This is much better, right? So let's give some styles to that. CSS. It is results, and I want font size. Just increase the font size, extra large, and color. So this is how you change the color of the text, right? If you remember, let's do red, yeah, or maybe royal blue, whatever. 3 and 4. Yeah, this is much better. So this is how you go to the next step, right? So now you learn how to get the data from input elements or like HTML elements and how to set data. So with this basic understanding, I'm going to take a pretty big leap. Okay, so the next one I'm showing you is what I do every day at work, which is like, developing the actual websites that people would use. If you see it, this is like an example one. Like nobody would make a website out of it, right? So this is just an example usage. So and like nowadays nobody is writing this HTML, JS, and CSS like this, right? There are frameworks in place and there are libraries in place that you can make use of and write less or little code and deliver the websites faster. Okay, so with that, I'm going to take a bigger leap and I'm going to introduce you React.js. So React.js is a library built by Facebook to create websites and web applications faster. And it is an open source JavaScript library. What does it mean? Open source means you don't have to pay anything, right, to run it, to use it, or to build applications with it. To used to build SPA. What is SPA? SPA is single page application. And what is a single page application? Like, it doesn't make sense, right? If you look at any website, it's not single page. There are like multiple pages, right? When you click on it, it's going to other pages. So it's not a single page. So to understand this single page application, if you go back to our initial slides, I talked about client and I talked about server, right? So back in the day, when everything is rendered server side, what happens is for every small interaction, right? like I open the web page, it makes a call to the web server and it will serve the page, right? And when I put some input and click enter, it'll again go to the web server and get the response, right? And for every small action, back in the day, like probably 10 years back or whatever, when I was in college, or even before that, it would go to the web server for every small interaction and it will send the data. And it's all working fine. Then why do we need single page application, right? So single page application is when you interact. So first time when you open the web page, it will go and get the data from web server. And for the subsequent requests, it wouldn't always go and fetch the data from the server. Most of it is run on the browsers because of the fact that the computers have become faster and we have high processing CPUs and all that, and the browsers also have become modern. So there is no point in contacting server for every small request. Because if you think about it, whenever you make a request and you get the data, it is a transaction, right? You're losing data, you're losing time. It's not faster anymore because it has to go somewhere else, get the data. But with the modern browsers and single page applications, everything is in your web browser, right? So for any other subsequent request, it will just process the application inside it. So that's one thing you have to remember, the difference between server side and the client side, right? Client side rendered applications. And React has been really popular because, of course, Facebook created it and they use React to build their applications, right? So that is the whole meaning of this. And the core features of React.js is it is JSX. It is written in JSX. By that, what I mean is, let me show the code. Let me show you guys the code, then you'll get the understanding. So here you see HTML, right? And you see JavaScript and you see CSS here. So everything is separated. And this has been the best practice for so long because people has to like repeat the code and write bunch of code. So to maintain the separability, they used to create so many files and keep them separated so that it is easy to debug and share the code between developers. But with React, we don't have to do that anymore because if I can show you, if it opens quickly. So the core feature is, as you can see, it is JSX, right? What do you mean by JSX? It means, see here, you see HTML here, right? It's the same HTML that we previously wrote, very similar one, right? And then there is JavaScript here. And if you can see, it is the curly braces. Whatever is in the curly braces, it is interpreted as JavaScript. This is basically the JavaScript. So from here, you can clearly see that we kind of combined HTML and JavaScript. So JSX means HTML and JavaScript, right? So that is like you write JavaScript and HTML combined. There are so many advantages to it. I'll get back to you on that. And other than that, and there is also index.css, right? So you have CSS file, the very same CSS that we previously experienced, right? So it's the same CSS, but here you're using import. I don't know if any of you, I know Vamsi does some Python. I don't know if anyone else are familiar with that, but like in
maximum skills are related in Python.
Okay, cool. That's pretty cool. So you know what importing is, right? So like in Python, you import the libraries or files, right? In the same way, you do the same here. So there is index.css. You just import that CSS here, and you set the class names. See here, the class name is location search. And if you go to CSS, there you go. So this is the class. As I said, it has dot and it has some CSS. So yeah, basically this is nothing but a little advancement of what we have seen earlier. With that, let's see. The other thing is the components. Components. What are components? Give me a So components are nothing but HTML elements, but custom HTML elements, right? Let me show you what I meant by that. So here, div, like everything in blue color is the HTML element, which means it is supported by HTML language. But here, layout, this is not an HTML element, or restaurant list. This is not an HTML element. We created it. These are called custom HTML elements, right? Let's see what layout is. Here, go to the top. It is coming from folder components and layout, right? Let's go, okay, here, components and layout. Here you can see I'm exporting the layout. What exactly is the layout? Okay, so layout, don't worry too much about const and all these things. So const is nothing but a variable, like we used var, right? But in the modern JavaScript, they divided this var into two keywords. One is const and the other one is let. So const is basically a constant, right? Which doesn't change. So you basically set any type of functions, variables, or values to const. So a variable with a keyword const. But I mean, you can as well use var, you can as well use let. So it doesn't matter too much. Don't worry about that. So for now, just this is nothing but a variable. That's all you have to know, right? So layout is a variable, which is a function. In the function, you have an argument, which is like an object, and then it is returning. What is it returning? It is returning some HTML, some JSX, right? It has header. Header is again it is green in color, which means it is a custom element. And again, these are HTML elements, right? So layout, from this, I want to conclude that the custom elements, the custom components are also created using basic HTML and JavaScript and CSS, right? Because here again, you can see there is layout.css and there is a bunch of CSS here, right? So yeah, from this, it has components and it has state. This is a very crazy idea, right? Or like concept. State is a very interesting concept in React.js, because in React.js, as I showed you here, it is composed of HTML elements, right? But then you want to add some functionality to it. So that is where the state comes in, right? So let me quickly show you something. So in the index.html that we previously played around, so this is all, let me create a div. So let me show you how to write like a basic raw React.js, right? ID equal to root. And then, as I said, React.js is a library. So you can do React.js and you can find the documentation online. So here you can see there is pretty documentation and there is a lot of explanation here. Go to get started. And then let's see, okay, CDN links here. copy this, right, and paste it. What are you doing here, right? So what you're basically doing here is you're importing React into your application, okay? So with this, React is available to you. So in your JavaScript, okay, let's move our JavaScript to the bottom of this, and in your JavaScript, which is main.js, let me open it here. In your main.js, what you would do is let's go to so here, if you can look at it, here it will show you how to use it, right? So you can basically copy this, paste it here. React dot React down dot render. Okay. Hello message name Taylor, right? And document get element ID. You would say just remove all these, okay? And have a root by ID root, okay? But here you have to see hello message. It's not a HTML element, right? It is a custom component, and we have to build it. So let me build that. Hello message is equal to function props return div hello. Okay, how do you access this name, right? So it is basically passed through props. So you could say props dot name, right? So that's how you do this. Let's see. So it should say hello Taylor. It did not do anything because there is an unexpected this is pretty messed up. I have to rename this file to JSX. Rename sex plus .jsx. Oh, I'm so sorry. I would need a special compiler for that, Babel compiler for that. Or instead, what we could do is we could just instead of this, we could just put it here. Or move this to here. There you go. So you don't care about external JavaScript anymore. Return the okay. Let's try something else. Let's try the class-based one. Let's try this. Or maybe this. Yeah, the worst thing is I need to have like Babel compiler for that. But basically, this is how you write it. For the online compiler, what we could do is to just get a feel of using React, a plain React without any jazz, right? What you could do is React online editor. I could do here too. Okay, so here, React. Yeah, this is pretty cool. So like if you see here, there is like a lot of dependencies, right? So you would need these dependencies, which is very unfortunate. But I'll in a quick minute, I'll show you how to create that, right? But for here, let's do this and let's see. Okay. Here instead of React DOM, I would say React. Oopsie. Okay, here we can do this here. Each element. I'll remove everything else. Remove this one too. So here you can see Hello Taylor, right? Let me explain what's happening here, right? I know this is a lot to take in, but bear with me. So here, React DOM dot render. So what it's doing is you're getting the element, right? You're getting get element by ID root, which is basically in index.html. You have this root. You're accessing that root, and you're in the React render dot React DOM dot render is your what is it called? Your entry point. So in that entry point, the first one is your custom component, is your React element or application, and the second element is the root of your index, right? If you look at your HTML, there is nothing here. So everything is coming from here. So here you can add pretty much anything, right? Any HTML. Like here, you can add an image tag. Image src is equal to, let's go search for some images. Images. Okay, let's get copy image address. Okay, and then paste under the source. There you go. So you can do that too. Hello, Taylor. This is image for you. See, you can do that. And for the styles, you can use style is equal to. So here in React, adding styles, inline styles is a little bit different from what we have seen in plain HTML. You would pass in an object to the styles, right? Like index is 300 pixel. There you go. See, margin left. Left is 20 pixel. There you go. So you can do pretty much things like this, right? But the cool thing is, if you have a component like this, the replication is easy. Let me show you like how to replicate this, right? So hello message is this, and then I'm creating another component, right? Message list. And message list extends React.component. You can do like that, or you can just do const message list is equal to function, and this is called props. And oh, it should be, by the way, the other thing you have to keep in mind is these React components should be uppercase or like Pascal case, right? So that is another important thing. Return. So hello messages, hello message, and name Lilly, and let's put it in a div, right? Let's replicate it. Let's create like bunch of messages, like 5 messages, right? And Lilly, Chandu, I don't know who else, Vamsi, and Krishna, and Vineet. Okay, and then here, instead of that, what I would do is would just put it here. See, isn't it pretty easy to create like multiple elements? Like you don't have to code this hello message several times. You could just use that, and if you observe, you see like all those names, all those different names, right? So you can pretty much make these components as complex as you want and as variable as you want. So this is the pretty cool thing about React. So with this, let's move on to our second part, our next part, which is, I forgot to mention about the state. Right, let me get back to my, okay. So coming to the state, so these are the components, right? This is JSX basically, and these are the components. Nothing fancy, everything is pretty hard-coded, right? But let's add our add functionality here. Let's add 2 input elements and, you know, all the things that we did previously in plain HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Okay, let me call add, right? Let me remove this message list, and I would say add here, and so here, instead of that, I would just create add here. Right? Add is equal to function. Or maybe for the state component, it's better to use class. Okay, let's use class for now. Let's remove the image. Don't care about image and all that here. And input elements. Let's see if I can copy paste from our previous HTML. There you go. I'm going to copy it and paste it here. Okay. So there's input. Okay, here, as I'm typing, okay, this is like a code sandbox, right? I don't know if you're familiar with these kind of online editors. These are pretty cool for like quick practice sessions if you want to practice anything. So yeah, as you can see, I'm typing here something, and then it is immediately showing it in the right panel, right? So we have 2 inputs so far and a button. So let's add the functionality. Here, it's not like the previous one, right? Here, it is a little bit difficult. Not difficult, it's a little bit different. Here, I'm going to add on change is equal to handle handle input. Yeah, I'm going to call that function handle input. And here I'm going to call EVT I will tell you what I'm doing it here. Okay, so what's happening is here in the on the button element you see on click event, right? In React, what happens is you have to use camel case notation for any DOM events, right? So basically, this is an event. Event is any kind of action on the elements. So on click is literally on click, right? So you're basically saying, you're telling this application what it should do when you click on it. So on click, so on change, call this function. It is basically calling the function. How is it calling? It's passing that event to handle input. But we haven't created this function yet. Let me create it now. Handle input. Okay. And here, what I'll do is, I'm gonna just do document.write. It's called EVT. And I'm also passing, or let's pass the ID first. Because I'm passing ID X, because I want to make sure the application knows which input element is actually changed, right? When I change Y, I don't want to update the X value, right? I don't want to show X value. So that is the reason I'm passing ID here and EVT. EVT is the event, right? And let's put the same here and change the ID Y. And here on click, document.write var X is equal to, okay, here, the topic is state, right? How do we, so here I'm passing in the value. I'm like handling the input, but where do I store it? I cannot just, create a var here, right? I have to store it somewhere. That is where the state comes into the place, right? Here, constructor, I would just call the constructor, and to use the state, you would call super on it, super on the constructor. And then this dot state is equal to X. X is 0. Initially, X and Y are 0. But then once you handle the input, what happens is for new value is equal to EVT dot target dot value. It's basically this event's target is this element, right? So you're basically accessing the value from this event target, which is this input element. You're saying whatever the value is inside this event target, that means the input element, just set it to a new variable, right? But then from previous session, we learned that it is a string and we have to parse it. Parse int to base 10, and then this dot set state. How do you set state, right? ID. See, this is how you set the dynamic value as key. Here, you have two properties in this object, right? X and Y. But when you call handle input, you don't know what this ID is. It might be X or it might be Y, which is dynamic, which is a variable. So you would pass it in inside this box notation, right? And then set the value. Pretty good. So we have handled input. But is that all? We want on click too. So what we would do is handle click, not click, should be click. So what handle click? And here, let's add another property called result. Here, result is 0. And then here, div. Look at this cool thing, results. What you would say is use the curly brace notation and say this dot state dot result, right? Which is 0. See, it's pretty smart. It is just showing whatever the initial value here is. If you set it to 10, it will show 10. But we want to set it to 0. So handle click, and let's create that handle click function, EVT. This dot set state result to what? This dot state dot X plus this dot state dot Y. This is really straightforward. This is like nothing crazy. This is pretty straightforward. So let's on change listener expected instead. I see. Yeah, this should not be like this. This should be in curly braces because it is JSX. Wait, what the hell? On change. Give me a quick minute. I might have to refer my documentation. Oh, right. This dot. Okay. Well, that's what I did. It looks like it didn't like it. Let me see. Okay. So here it should be in this. Okay. And this should be this dot. And this should be this dot. And also the other thing to keep in mind is you have to do this. This dot handle click dot bind this. You know what it is doing? Basically, when you just when you just write these functions, right? You're using this arrow notation, and here you're just using a regular function notation, right? So in JavaScript, again, this is a little advanced concept for JavaScript, but just keep in mind that when you click on it, see, this keyword is pretty tricky. If you want to have like career in web development and want to learn more about it, you have to read about this. Like what and this and the scope, right? In JavaScript, there are 2 levels of scope. One is global scope and other is local scope, right? Global scope is basically you create any variable and you can access it from anywhere, right? And local scope is, see, you have created variable here, right? You cannot access new val in handle click because this is created inside this function. So it is scoped inside that function. It is the local, its scope is only inside this function. But when you use this keyword like set state, its scope is within this whole class. So that is the use of this keyword, right? So this is a little tricky, but just for now, keep in mind if you add any functions outside, you have to bind this keyword so that you can access those event handlers or these functions, right? These event handlers and hook it up to these events. Okay, so let's do this. Okay, 2, 4. Ooh, okay. Instead on click listener, of course, I need to change it. Handle click. Oh, this dot. Okay, well, this dot handle click. And I can do that. Okay. Oh, it's being immediately invoked. Okay, this is good. 2 and 3. Oops. So what does it say? X is not defined. This dot state dot X is not defined. That's not good because let's do this. Start straight. Okay. And let's pass that. Yeah. 3 and 4. X of this dot state is not defined because I am binding this. Let me see. Maybe I'm missing something. So it is saying this dot state is undefined, which cannot be, right? Oh, I'm sorry. See, guys, this is not good. Here, you have to bind and you have to return that object to that function. So that is what I'm missing. Documentation is pretty good, right? Okay, let's go there. This dot handle input is equal to this, and this dot handle click is equal to this. Okay. Hopefully that works. There you go. So it changed it, right? 24 and 35 and 56. See, but the cool thing is, if you remember, in plain HTML, you were like actually manipulating the component itself, right? You're doing document dot or like get element by ID dot inner text is equal to this. You're replacing it all the time. But here, React take care of it will take care of all that jazz. Okay, you just do this. So yeah, this is a brief introduction of React. But how do you create? Like previously, we tried to create a basic React component, but it did not work because there are several libraries that were missing, right? I'm going to show you how to create it pretty quickly and how to launch a website really quick. So the next one is the hands-on exercise. So from now on, you have to keep on working. As I ask you to do things, you guys go ahead and do those things. Okay. So like going to the hands-on exercise, what I wanted to ask you all is, hopefully you all have installed Node.js and Gatsby and GitHub, right? Can you all confirm, or at least few people?
Ma'am, you can create a poll, ma'am.
Oh, how do I do that? Can you?
No, ma'am. Only the presenter can do, ma'am. The options more, ma'am.
I see. How do I do that? Annotate more. Health check. Where is it? Can you see my screen?
Ma'am, I can see your screen, but I can't see the on the WebEx what it is.
That option, right? Okay. No, not these. Wow, I can draw. That's pretty cool. Oh. Okay. Or can you? Before that, let's take another quick break, like a 10 or 15-minute break again, and let's come back. Okay? Vamsi, does this sound good? Hello?
Ma'am, could you see the option of poll, ma'am?
Can you see my screen?
Yes, ma'am. It's a hands-on exercise PPT. I'm seeing.
Yeah, I don't see that option.
Ma'am, once can I stop the presentation? Once I will have
I'm sorry, what?
once I will have a look at the poll, ma'am.
Okay. Okay.
Ma'am, I think so. It's not for the polling is not for the free elections, ma'am. It will be paid meetings only, ma'am. Ma'am, can we resume the session?
Hello.
Hello, ma'am.
Hi. Is this Lily?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. What's up?
All
Hello.
please join in the session. It's 12 o'clock.
From here, it will be interesting session for us now. Who install the prerequisites?
I'm sorry. Are you talking to me?
Yeah, ma'am. Ma'am, from now it will be interesting session now, ma'am. For the persons who installed prerequisites.
Uh-huh. Yeah. This people who, yeah, we need prerequisites, right? Otherwise it will be super slow. Hello.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, can I continue or should I give people more time?
You can continue, ma'am. Is all.
Okay.
You can continue.
Okay, cool. So yeah, moving on, right? Hopefully everybody, all of you present in the current session, have gone through the prerequisites and installed Node, Gatsby, and Git Bash and everything. So please open your Git Bash and follow along, right? Please open your Git Bash, and it should look like this, right? I'm going to increase the font. Okay. So check your Node version, see if it is working. And also npm version, npm -v. So this is how you check the version, right? So you check the Node version and you check the npm version and you check the Gatsby version. Pretty slow, but yeah, there you go.
Enter your version numbers in the chat box, so it will be helpful to madam also if you have any issues.
Yeah, that's true. If you have any questions, please.
You can post our version number too of the node and npm.
Cool. How about like does just want to make sure does it, like, if everyone in the current session has these prerequisites, because it will be a little difficult to follow along if you don't have these prerequisites. That's okay, you can tag along, you can just see, that's fine, but at least if one or two people are okay. Okay, looks like apart from Lilly and Vamsi, there's one person who has the version. So I'm going to continue, okay? Hopefully you have both NPM and Gatsby as well. So I'm going to post that in the chat box, right? Check the NPM version and check the Gatsby version as well. Yeah, so with that, let's see what node and what npm and what Gatsby is pretty quickly, and then we can continue, right? So Node.js, as I explained previously, it is a JavaScript runtime, right? So until now, you have only seen JavaScript running in the browser. You haven't seen JavaScript running anywhere else, right? Like for example, in this command prompt. Let's quickly see how to do that, okay? I'm going to create a file, and I'm going to say example.js, okay? Oh wait, example.js, and I'm going to save it on my desktop. And here, function, again, function, I'm going to create function addition. I'm going to create X and Y, and console, or like document dot write X plus Y, right? And then I'm going to say, I'm going to call this function here with 10 and 12, okay? And let me run this example function in using Node, okay? How do you run like a plain JavaScript file, right? You copy the path of this file, copy just the path, and do Node, just paste this. Wait, it cannot say that's not good. Okay, maybe I shouldn't. Let me copy it and paste it somewhere else. Let me paste it under workshop. I should have a workshop folder. Okay, there you go. Okay, now let me copy the path. Copy path. Node. Paste it. Oh, that's no good because I have to drag and drop this here. Now let me copy the path. Node, paste. Because it's not recognizing / right? So I'm going to do this. See here, if you observe this, right? This is very important. You have to observe this. See, document is not defined. You know why? Because we are not running it in the browser. So document and window, these two objects are like div, get element by ID, all the DOM API is not available when you're running pure Node, right? Because it is not running in the browser. So what I will do is console.log. Let's run this again. There you go. So I passed 10 and 12. It showed the result here. So to make it more readable, what you could do is result is probably it might have reminded you of your C program, right? See here, you see. And with Node.js, right, it is pretty cool. It's like any other programming language, like backend programming language, like Java, C Sharp. You can access the file system. You can write to files. You can read from files. You can do input-output operations, and you can mess with processes and everything. So yeah, that's one cool thing. You can run JavaScript in Node runtime like this too, outside the browser. So this is another good use case of JavaScript. Having that said, so we understood what Node is, right? It is quite different from the JavaScript that is running on browser. It is mainly used to write server-side JavaScript. And the other thing is NPM, right? I asked you also to see the NPM version. So NPM is the full form is Node Package Manager. What exactly it means is there are libraries, right? Like when you write C programming, you might have included hash include. I actually forgot. It might be totally wrong. stdio.h, stuff like that, right? You might have written something like this. Probably it is like this. I forgot. It has been so long. So yeah, you would include libraries like this, right? So in JavaScript, you have libraries like that too, right? And they're all hosted on NPM registry. So here, you can search for example, React. React is a Node package. You can search for React and you'll see React. And the way you install React is npm install React. In the same way, Gatsby. Gatsby is also another library. And you can see Gatsby, right? So pretty much for any function that or like complex functionality that we want to do, there would be a package. Maybe string matching, right? String match. See, there is a string matcher. So for and they'll also give like very good description. And these are all like open source libraries, right? You can just npm install and you can use that library. So that is npm. Basically, what it does is let me quickly show you what npm install does. Ls. Let me go to my workshop. Okay. CD workshop. Let me quickly create a folder, mkdir example, right? And let me do npm init. Okay, it'll ask me a bunch of questions. So your package name is, oh no, this is not good. Let me quit. I don't want to create it here. I have to go to example folder. After creating the example folder, I have to go there. npm init. So it'll ask me the name. Yes, example is right, version description, blah, blah, blah. Yes. Okay, let me open this folder, right? In Visual Studio Code. Let me open this in a new window. Open folder, example. So here you see it created package.json, right? So this is a very important file, right? Because here you can say dependencies and you can say React and you can give a version. To know what version to pull in, you can go to npm and search for it, and you'll see, okay, the current version is 16.13.1. Let's copy it and paste it here in package.json, right? And then when you do npm install, let me show you what it does. See, it created node modules and it installed a bunch of dependencies, right? And you see React here. It just pulled in that library and put it in your local repository. So this is an important concept, right? Like from this, you can understand npm is acting like a, uh, middle person who would, who would see your request and who would like pull in the dependencies and put it here. So you can, apart from that, you can also install from here, right? Like let's install a string matcher or whatever, like some other library, okay? String. Copy it. You don't have to, if you don't know the exact version and everything, you don't have to install, you don't have to put it in your node modules. You can install it like this too. You can install like this and see what happens. Go to example. In package.json, you can see it added to your dependencies. It's kind of smart like that, right? And here in node modules, you can see, wait, where is it? Yeah, here. There is eString. So yeah, this is a brief description of what npm is, right? And coming to Gatsby. Gatsby is like a, you can think of it like a, like a technology that is used to create that whole folder structure. So when you actually when you actually develop a website or a big application, there are a lot of things to worry about, like build process and everything, right? So Gatsby takes care of all that. Probably you might have followed the instructions and created a default um, website, right? Using Gatsby, using this Gatsby new default starter. Probably you might have created this. I'm not going through that whole process again. So I've created one example too, like one basic one too. So what I want you all to do is open that folder, right? For me, it's my grub. I created a basic default site and named it my grub. So please everybody open it in your Visual Studio Code. And I'll quickly walk you through the folder structure. And before that, in Git Bash, go to that folder. Go to the folder that you have created and run npm run start. After you run start, it should start your application at localhost 8000. At least one of you run it and let me know so I can move on. See here, I don't know if you could see it, but here it said you can now view Gatsby starter default at HTTP localhost 8000. So copy that. Oh, sorry, I think I just killed the process. Copy it. And open it here. Once it starts, it should show the default website.
Ma'am,
Yeah.
could
Yeah.
you once show the process of Gatsby for cloning the folder, ma'am? Once through command prompt.
Git clone.
Yeah, ma'am. So they
Oh,
can go to the. They already cloned it, ma'am. But how to go to
okay.
the way to search into that?
This is not the Git clone, right? This is not the website that not the Git clone. This is the new starter. Okay, let me go to what I have sent. So in the instructions, talking about the 9th point.
Yeah, ma'am.
Did people go through the 9th point? I'm not sure.
We just no, ma'am. I think.
No, okay, that's okay. So that's okay. I'm going to give like an extension assignment that everybody could, and with all the documentation, people could follow through it and ask me questions later. But so, okay, probably you might have cloned my repository, right? The repository I sent.
Actually, they cloned it, ma'am. Git clone your repository, ma'am. Just
Okay, great. So git
till
clone.
the yeah, ma'am. Till they cloned the your packages. Ma'am.
Okay, so okay, so go to the folder, to that clone folder. Okay. Can we mute? Okay, I think it's gone now. Okay, that's pretty cool. So all of you, like, if you have cloned that repository, go to that, right? Go to that repo, like CD. Its name should be Web Dev Intro 2020, right? Go there and run npm install.
One thing, ma'am. When they clone the directory is the local disk C, the folder is users, and in the their personal PC name. Ma'am. My PC name is Vamsi. Their PC name can be Vinit, Triveni, Chandrika, anyone.
Yeah.
The cloned folder will be available, ma'am. That they will.
Right, yes. Go to that folder. Go to that folder and CD to the folder, right? So if you have,
Post the directory also in the place of my system name, you can replace it. So you can go through the directory.
yeah, you can go through the directory. Or, the easiest thing is I'll show you another trick for everybody, right? For example, I have cloned my repository to C workshop and here, right? Web dev intro. So get into that folder in the file explorer, right click on it, and you can say git bash here. And it opens up the git bash in that location. See, if you can see, it opened up there. You can try that too. That's like the most easiest way to get to that path. And after you get to that path, run npm install. After that process is completed, what I want you all to do is do npm run start. If at least one person could get it running, it would be great. Okay. So after running that, it started my website at localhost 8000. So I'm going to copy it. I'm going to just, yeah, see, this is what you should see after you run it. Vamsi, were you able to get to this thing?
Yeah, ma'am. 2 minutes. I will.
Okay, that's okay. Take your time. Pages, restaurant, JS. I think I have an issue here. Where are my pages? Pages. Restaurant, JS. Slice. Restaurant.
Ma'am, I'm getting error, ma'am.
What errors are you getting?
So many, ma'am. Code e-life cycle error number 1. Gas BY started default. Failed at the gas BY, ma'am. Screenshot.
Can you send a screenshot to the channel? Can you try running npm install? Nice. And so then I'm gonna see why this thing is.
It's taking a little bit time and
Oh, that's okay. Okay. In that case,
guys, anyone
Right.
also who is going through this can give a reply in the chat box. Who is going through the process?
yeah, just want to know if like is everyone having issues with npm install?
Yes, ma'am.
It might probably because of I mean, see, one thing is you might have to have like good internet speed. I think probably this WebEx call is like draining out all your data. Um, okay, we can do something else, right? Maybe you can try out npm install on your own. I mean, we can move forward and I want to show you how to push to Git and how to access from Git, right? Have you completed the adding SSH credentials and all the Git process?
Yes, ma'am.
Cool. So here, right? Whenever you and have you also created a new repository in your GitHub account?
Yeah, ma'am. The process is shared, ma'am.
Okay, that's cool. Okay, so I'm going to tell you how to, once you make changes, how to push it to the repository, right? So this is how you do. Now, right now, I've made like a small minor change. And first, I'm going to check if my changes are right. Okay. So that's perfect. I only changed restaurant.js. And in Visual Studio Code on your left, you can click on this icon and click on the file, and you can see what you have changed, right? For this, let me reduce the size of it. So, okay, from here, you can clearly see that this is red, right? So it means I've deleted this part of code. So I'm going to push this to the repository, okay? First, in order to do that, you have to commit. Git commit -m, or git first, you have to add the changes. Git add -A, okay? Like make any small change and do this. Make some small change to the file, or open restaurant.js. In your repositories, open restaurant.js and delete from line number 53 to 62, this whole thing. Delete this whole blob of code. Then do git add -a. Next, git commit -m. Put some message, right? I would say remove images block. Come on. Okay. Now again, check if you have committed all your changes. For that, do git status. So everything has been committed. So all right now you have to do is just do git push, right? Okay, so for me, it is throwing error because I'm using, this is my work laptop. So my personal thing hasn't been set up. What I'm using, I mean, you can just use git push. As long as you set up your SSH, it should pass, right? But for me, I'm gonna go to git GUI, the GUI, which is the prettier version of this, right? So it opens, okay, let me just quickly move this to the screen. There you go. So when you install Git, it would install both GUI, and Bash. You can use either of it, right? So in the Git GUI, I'm going to open existing repository, right? Click on existing repository, browse, go to the repository that you have cloned, okay? So for me, it's under C, workshop, and web dev intro. I'm selecting this and open. Okay. Oops. Okay, so it shows something like this, right? Here, go to remote and click on push. And it says, okay, you have master branch. And I'm going to say, yes, push it. Ooh, it said command failed. Oh, looks like I messed up completely with my Git credentials. But anyway, hey, Vamsi, were you able to push it? Push the changes to your Git repository?
Ma'am, I have a 1 minute break, ma'am. Network break. I have, I think so, Lilly.
I'm sorry, what?
I think so, Lilly did it, ma'am.
Okay, Lily did it. Okay. At least if one person did it, I'm fine. So usually when you commit a thing, okay, let me try just one more. Is Lily here?
Yes, ma'am.
Hey Lily, were you able to push it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, cool. So it did not error out or anything, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, cool. So yeah, once you push it, the way it would look is if you go to this, see it should show a commit message like this. And in GitHub, you can see all your changes like this, right? So yeah, this is one thing you have to keep in mind. And then, so unfortunately, we are running out of time and I wasn't able to finish the whole thing. But don't get discouraged. I'm going to give clear directions on the whole process of writing all these things. I'm going to give a take-home assignment that you can follow on your own. The main intent of this workshop is to get you introduced to all these tools that are available so that you understand. I mean, when I provide documentation, you can like pretty much go through it and finish the exercises. So here, one more thing I want to mention is the APIs, right? I previously mentioned about APIs briefly. So let me show you here. this is the website we are supposed to build, but that's okay. You pulled in, you cloned the repository, so you should be able to run it locally, play with it, and add more functionality. But here, what I want to show you is this is built based on Zomato API. So when I refresh it in the, oops, because of course I'm not running it locally. Let me go here, open the terminal and run it quickly. npm run install. So before it spins up, what I wanted to mention is it is built using Zomato API. For Zomato API, you would just go to just Google Zomato API, right? It opens up this. So what is an API, right? API is, as I said before, it is an application programming interface, or maybe I'm cooking up that stuff. Let me make sure again. Yeah, it is application programming interface. Thank God. Yeah, it is almost 12:15, so I might be forgetting stuff. Excuse me. But yeah, so all these big companies like Zomato or Uber or Google, Facebook, and there are like so many other companies, right? Like Amazon. They all have these APIs, like which would provide you the data that you need, right? So that you can build applications on top of it. But for some companies like Google, like if you go and search Google APIs, right? Google has so many APIs. They have see, if you go to APIs Explorer, they list out all the available APIs. It's like crazy that the amount of APIs Google have is crazy. Like for example, Books API. They have Books APIs. They have Maps, Google Maps API. But one thing about Google APIs is that after some free limit, they charge per call, right? So if you're just trying to create a simple application, it's fine. But if you want to create an application like Uber, you might have to purchase their developer plan, right? So that's one thing to keep in mind. And for our application's sake, I'm using Zomato API, and you can generate the API key, but I've already generated my API key. So go to documentation, and they'll have like pretty good documentation here. Once you create your API key, right, you can just use it and try it out. See, it returns data like this, right? So for our use case, probably this might be enough. Okay. For our use case, I'm just using API, Zomato API to get all the data, right? Let me refresh it. Or maybe I'm just importing, just using the dummy data for that. But once I click it, see here, I'm using Zomato API, developers.zomato API, restaurant, and restaurant ID. They'll also show you how to use that API, right? Here, for the restaurant, here is the restaurant. So it is saying that it needs two parameters. One is the user key, and the other one is the REST ID. So I'm calling it with both REST ID, and my API key is in the headers. Where is my header? Here, user key, right? I'm setting it in the request headers. I'm setting it here, and I'm calling it, and it is returning this data. So you can also see it in the preview, right? It also has all the data, like the review count and the price range and the, what is it called? and the address and everything, right? See here, location, and I'm getting that location and I'm showing it here. If you look at it, I'm getting the location data and I'm also getting the timing, right? The open hours. See here, timing 7 a.m. to 12 midnight. And go back and look at probably KFC. I'm making another call and it has 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. and it has different data, right? So this is how, and also it has user rating, if you can see user rating and all that. So basically what you can do is, if you don't want to build all the applications from scratch, you can use the existing APIs and you can build beautiful products. Not exactly like this, but you get the idea, right? So yeah, this is an introduction to APIs. And you can like go search for APIs that are available. And in the application, in restaurant.js, you can see how I'm using the API. I'm using fetch from node fetch, and I'm fetching the library, right, with the restaurant ID. And I'm getting the restaurant ID from the URL. See here, from the home page, when I click on some restaurant, I'm passing this ID in the URL. And from the URL, I'm getting the ID and passing to the API and retrieving the data. See? Yeah, I have my user key here, but you can keep yours. You can use yours and yeah, go through this code and play with it. I think it's almost time to wrap up. So today, unfortunately, I couldn't show you what Netlify is. So Netlify is basically when you push it to the cloud, when you push the website to the GitHub, there is a hook that would build to the Netlify. I'm going to send a clear documentation of what Netlify is and how can you host your website once you build it. But apart from that, today we have gone through so many things. We have gone through the basic functionality of website and how to write HTML, basic HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And I've also walked you through React.js, Gatsby, how to use Git, how to push to it, and how to clone it. And as I promised, I'm going to send documentation on Netlify, and you can build your website and host it. So thank you so much for attending this workshop. I know it is pretty long and it's a lot of information. The main intent of this workshop is to show you some pretty cool things. If you haven't gotten anything to work, don't get discouraged. It's not end of anything, right? You can always try it out. I will send all these slides and more documentation, and the Slack channel will always be open. You can email me about any questions regarding programming and career in programming, or any other questions regarding programming, right? Or computer science, if you want to know more about it. I'm ready to share whatever I know. And yeah, I'm very honored, and thank you so much for this opportunity. Even though I have a full-time job, even though I'm like I really enjoy my job. This is my passion. I don't mind spending these hours. It actually gives me more energy to keep up with my work and know more and learn more. So yeah, thanks for giving me this opportunity. And I thank Vamsi and Lilly so much. Vamsi, you did an amazing job in reaching out to me. I know this is like a very tough times. Everybody is going through tough times at work, at home, outside. Things have been so crazy lately. So I've been like super busy because there were a lot of people let go due to the COVID crisis in my company. So we ended up taking up a lot more work and doing extra work, but it did not stop me from giving this workshop, thankfully. But I thank Vamsi so much for his constant communication. That's amazing job. I'm so proud of you. I know you'll do much better, and you'll go to amazing heights. And thank you so much. And also, Lily, thank you so much. You're so sweet. I really liked working with both of you guys. Hopefully, hopefully, if everything goes well, we could have one more session. I'm always ready to share what I know. And thanks for all the faculty members, HOD sir, and everybody for giving me this opportunity and keeping up with me for these 4 hours. It has been a amazing journey. And yeah, you all are awesome for spending this time and yeah, learning something new. Thank you. So yeah, that's my LinkedIn account. Connect with me, ping me, send me email, or if you want to know anything about anything, just ping me. Like we can book appointment and we can talk about things. And last but not least, I'm going to send a survey. Please help me improve myself. I've just started these things. This is, I think, my third or fourth webinar. I have no prior teaching experience or anything, so your feedback means a lot to me. So please fill up that survey. And with that, I'm signing off. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. And I will do closing remarks. Okay, it's been a pleasure being with all of you today. Thank you all for your patience. I wish you all a very good afternoon. It's been an honor to be among such accomplished individuals and to be able to present any perspective before you all. Thank you all for being here today and taking the time to patiently listen to what ma'am has to say. I wish you have a nice day. This workshop has been proactive in coming to grips, ma'am. We have gained a better understanding about the web development and confident to say that we will also build a new projects on web development in future. Once again, thank you, Himaja ma'am, for giving us such wonderful and insightful session. Thank you all. Stay home, stay safe. And vote of thanks by Lilly Joy.
Good afternoon to one and all. I am Lilly Joy of 3x4 ECE. It is great honor to propose vote of thanks on this occasion. Let me first give glory to the Almighty for making today's event a grand success. First and foremost, I thank our management for valuable contribution and support to organize this event. And I thank our resource person for sharing her valuable knowledge with us. Now I rendering my thanks to today's chief guest Dr. Satish Garu, who has found his time to spend with us on this occasion. I thank our well-wisher, our principal sir, Dr. Sowmithri Garu, for his support to organize this event. And my heartful thanks to our HOD sir, Dr. T. Venkateswara Rao sir, for his valuable contribution, guidance, and encouragement. I thank all the distinguished who has worked hard to make this event a success. Last but not least, I thank all the participants for their cooperation, making a event grand success. Thank you all.
Satish sir, any feedback?
Okay, Vamsi, close it, wind it up.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Ma'am, thank you a lot, ma'am, for sharing a valuable information, ma'am.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. Have a great rest of your days. Bye.
Thank you. Ma'am?
We hope cooperation in future also, madam.
Sure, sir. Sure. I'm really honored to do this. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
gone through file, and I'm happy to say that it was the alumni of Andhra University. I did my MTech and PhD in Andhra University. I'm very happy to be alumni of Andhra University.
Thank you.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you.
Hello, ma'am.
Hi, Lily. Yep.
Ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Stay safe, ma'am.
Cool. Thank you. You guys too. Take care.
Yes, ma'am.
In your tight schedule also you have to go through the workshop. Thank you.
Of course. Of course. Anything for you guys. Thank you.
Have a nice
Bye.
sleep.
Thank you, ma'am.
Good night, ma'am.
Bye. Good night.